But since we're swinging for the fences, Jesse, since we're here and we're already talking about players that the Diamondbacks most likely won't get, let's talk about Garrett Crochet, shall we? Because apparently he is now kind of actually being linked to the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I haven't seen any reports of the Dbacks checking in necessarily. I know Nick Picoro, in a story that he wrote the other day, he mentioned Crochet, not necessarily as someone the Dbacks had made contact regarding, but just someone who on paper kind of fits what they've been talking about. Crochet has been outstanding for the White Sox this season, going through his numbers as you see here: 111 and a third innings, a 3.07 ERA, a 0.97 WHIP, 12.7 Ks per nine, 2 walks per nine, a FIP of 2.32. His peripherals are off the charts. He's throwing 97 miles an hour from the left side. He might be the most dominant. He's up there with Tarek Skubal in the conversation of like most dominant left-handed pitchers in this game. He has been that good for the White Sox this season. The tricky thing with Garrett Crochet is that this is his first season as a full-time starting pitcher, at least in a long time, as a member of the White Sox. And so that means that his innings limit is a pretty significant factor here. We've already seen the White Sox kind of back off a little bit. I think he threw 74 pitches in his last game. So he's not someone you can really count on as like a 6-inning per start guy the rest of the season. You're going to have to back off him from an inning standpoint. It might be more of a multi-inning relief type of a role for the rest of the year, but he does have 2 more years of club control. So you're not only getting him for the rest of this season, you're also getting him for a couple more years. And next season, and certainly the year following, he should be more built up. He should be able to be a full-time starter for you at that point, and he should be a pretty darn good one as well.
But do we need him? And is the cost going to be too high for a guy like this? Like, you'll never turn down an elite pitcher like he's proving himself to be. However, Zach Zent is absolutely right. Erod has a 0.00 ERA right now. So we don't even know what the Diamondbacks have, and we don't know how, the return of Merrill Kelly and Eduardo Rodriguez is going to impact this team as a whole. It's going to have kind of a ripple effect where Ryan Nelson and other guys are going to get moved around, potentially other roles, and this bullpen could get stronger with the addition of these guys. But at the same time, too, the Diamondbacks do have to look, I think, if they're going to look at trade candidates that's going to cost an outrageous amount, they need to look at guys like this that have years of control that are going to make this team better down the road and not just a rental. Because right now the Diamondbacks do lose some key members potentially of this team at the end of the year. There's a reason that Christian Walker has not re-signed with this team, and that reason most likely is that he is going to test out the free agency market. It doesn't mean he doesn't come back to Arizona like what happened with Lourdes Gurriel Jr., but there's pieces of this team moving on. We know Paul Sewald, his contract is up after the season, so the Diamondbacks do have to start looking at, a potential closer of the future and beyond. So I think as long as the trade, even if it doesn't make a lot of sense for this season, is a move to, improve this franchise going forward, then I'm all for it. But so far, a lot of the names that we saw outside of Kyle Finnegan on that top 50 list attached to the Diamondbacks didn't really make a lot of sense. But we will keep sifting through this pile of candidates as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline. Less than a week away now until that trade deadline, because it comes up on July 30th, right, Jesse? That's trade deadline?
Yeah, it is Tuesday, I believe, at 6 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, we're getting pretty close there. We're gonna have to. We might have to start going through more than 2 names per episode because we've got some more.
We got a lot of relievers. A lot of relievers to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot of relievers. One other thing I want to say on Crochet real quick is
Sure.
the Dbacks, they have a clear need for a left-handed reliever. So this isn't just like an all-in move for the future. This meets a need that the Dbacks have right now. And Garrett Crochet might be as good of a left-handed reliever as you could possibly acquire. I know we talked about Tanner Scott yesterday. He also is a very attractive option in that role. But Garrett Crochet gets every bit as much swing and miss as Tanner Scott, and he hasn't really walked anyone, whereas that's been a pretty significant issue for Scott this season. So it fills that role for this year. And then it also is a controllable starter moving forward. And that's something that Mike Hazen said in a conversation I had over the weekend. He said that they're always in on controllable starting pitching, right? Even though on paper they could bring back the same rotation that they have now next season. I mean, you think about Erod being healthy and Merrill Kelly being healthy, Zach Gallen, Brandon Pfaadt, Jordan Montgomery at this point, given his struggles, it seems fairly likely that he'll wind up back with the team next year, picking up that player option. So the D-backs don't necessarily have a ton of room in their rotation next year, but Mike told me that you can never have too much starting pitching. And I certainly wasn't surprised to hear that. We've heard that kind of thing before. And thinking about a rotation with Gallen and Merrill Kelly and Garrett Crochet and Brandon Pfaadt and Eduardo Rodriguez and, Jordan Montgomery maybe factoring in there too, you can get really excited about that group going into 2025.
6-man rotation, Jesse. 6-man rotation. Bring Yilver up. Let's do a 7-man. Let's get crazy with it. Let's do whatever we want.